Chapter 32. The Light of Your Countenance. Fatima, the widow of Abu Talib, had entered Islam either before or after her husband's death, and so had her daughter Hani, the sister of Ali, and Jafar, but Hani's husband Hubayra was altogether impervious to the message of God's oneness. He nonetheless made the Prophet welcome when he came to their house, and if it was the time for a prayer during one of these visits, the Muslims of the household would pray together. On one occasion, when they had all prayed the night prayer behind the Prophet, Hani invited him to spend the night with them. He accepted her invitation, but after a brief sleep, he rose and went to the mosque, for he loved to visit the Kaaba during the night hours. While he was there, the desire to sleep came over him again, and he lay down in the hijr. "Whilst I was sleeping in the hijr," he said, "Gabriel came to me and spurred me with his foot, whereupon I sat upright, yet I saw nothing, and lay down once again. A second time he came, and a third time, and then he took me by the arm, and I rose and stood beside him, and he led me out to the gate of the mosque, and there was a white beast, between a mule and an ass, with wings at his sides wherewith he moved his legs, and his every stride was as far as his eye could see." The Prophet then told how he mounted Burak, for so the beast was named, and with the archangel at his side, pointing the way and measuring his pace to that of the heavenly steed, they sped northwards beyond Yathrib and beyond Khaybar until they reached Jerusalem. Then they were met by a company of prophets, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others, and when he prayed on the site of the temple, they gathered together behind him in prayer. Then 2 vessels were brought before him and offered him, one of wine, the other of milk. He took the vessel of milk and drank from it, but left the vessel of wine, and Gabriel said, "You have been guided unto the path primordial, and have guided thereunto your people, O Muhammad, and wine is forbidden you." Then, as had happened to others before him, to Enoch and Elijah and Jesus and Mary, Muhammad was taken up out of this life to heaven. From the rock in the center of the site of the temple he again mounted Burak, who moved his wings in upward flight and became for his rider as the chariot of fire had been for Elijah. Led by the archangel, who now revealed himself as a heavenly being, they ascended beyond the domain of earthly space and time and bodily forms, and as they passed through the 7 heavens he met again those prophets with whom he had prayed in Jerusalem. But there they had appeared to him as they had been during their life on earth, whereas now he saw them in their celestial reality, even as they now saw him, and he marveled at their transfiguration. Of Joseph he said that his face had the splendor of the moon at its full, and that he had been endowed with no less than the half of all existing beauty. Yet this did not diminish Muhammad's wonderment at his other brethren, and he mentioned in particular the great beauty of Aaron. Of the gardens that he visited in the different heavens he said afterwards, "A piece of paradise the size of a bow is better than all beneath the sun, whereon it rises and sets, and if a woman of the people of paradise appeared unto the people of earth, she would fill the space between heaven and here below with light and with fragrance." Everything he now saw, he saw with the eye of the Spirit, and of his spiritual nature, with reference to the beginnings of all earthly nature, he said, "I was a prophet when Adam was yet between water and clay." The summit of his ascent was the lote tree of the uttermost end. So it is named in the Quran, and in one of the oldest commentaries, based on the sayings of the Prophet, it is said, "The lote tree is rooted in the throne, and it marks the end of the knowledge of every knower, be he archangel or prophet messenger. All beyond it is a hidden mystery, unknown to any save God alone." At this summit of the universe, Gabriel appeared to him in all his archangelic splendor, even as he was first created. Then, in the words of the Revelation, when there enshrouded the lote tree that which enshrouds, the eye wavered not, nor did it transgress. Verily he beheld, of all the signs of his Lord, the greatest. According to the commentary, the divine light descended upon the lote tree, and enshrouded it, and all else beside, and the eye of the prophet beheld it without wavering, and without turning aside from it. Such was the answer, or one of the answers, to the supplication implicit in his words, I take refuge in the light of thy countenance. At the lote tree the prophet received for his people the command of 50 prayers a day, and it was then that he received the revelation which contains the creed of Islam. The messenger believes, and the faithful believe, in what has been revealed unto him from his Lord. Each one believes in God and his angels and his books and his messengers. We made no distinction between any of his messengers. And they say, we hear and we obey. Grant us, our Lord, your forgiveness. Unto you is the ultimate return. They made their descent through the 7 heavens, even as they had ascended. The prophet said, On my return when I passed Moses, and what a good friend he was unto you. He asked me, How many prayers have been laid upon your nation? I told him 50 prayers every day, and he said, The congregational prayer is a weighty thing, and your people are weak. Return unto your Lord, and ask him to lighten the load for you and your people. So I returned and asked my Lord to make it lighter, and he took away 5. Then I passed Moses again, and he repeated what he had said before. So I returned again, and 5 more prayers were taken from me. But every time I returned unto Moses, he sent me back, until finally all the prayers had been taken from me, except 5 for each day and night. Then I returned unto Moses, but still he said the same as before. And I said, I have returned unto my Lord, and asked him, until I am ashamed. I will not go again. And so it is that he who performs the 5 in good faith and in trust of God's bounty, unto him shall be given the meed of 50 prayers. When the prophet and the archangel had made their descent to the rock at Jerusalem, they returned to Mecca the way they had come, overtaking many southbound caravans. It was still night when they reached the Kaaba. From there the prophet went again to the house of his cousin. In her words, a little before dawn, the prophet woke us, and when we had prayed the dawn prayer, he said, O Hani, I prayed with you the last evening prayer in this valley as you saw. Then went I to Jerusalem, and there prayed. And now have I prayed with you the morning prayer, as you see. He rose to go, and I seized his robe with such force that it came away, laying bare his belly, as if it had been but cotton cloth draped round him. O prophet of God, I said, tell not the people this, for they will call you a liar and insult you. By God, I will tell them, he said. He went to the mosque, and told those whom he met there of his journey to Jerusalem. His enemies were immediately triumphant, for they now felt they had an irrefutable cause for mockery. Every child of Quraysh knew that a caravan takes a month to go from Mecca to Syria, and a month to return. And now Muhammad claimed to have gone there and back in one night. A group of men went to Abu Bakr and said, What do you think now of your friend? He tells us he went last night to Jerusalem and prayed there, and then returned to Mecca. Abu Bakr accused them of lying, but they assured him that Muhammad was in the mosque at that moment, speaking about this journey. If so, he said Abu Bakr, then it is true. And where is the wonder of it? He tells me that tidings come to him from heaven to earth in 1 hour of the day or night, and I know him to be speaking the truth. And that is beyond what you proclaim, he said. He then went to the mosque to repeat his confirmation. If so, he says, then it is true. And it was for this that the prophet gave him the name as Siddiq, which means the great witness of truth, or the great confirmer of the truth. Moreover, some of those who had found the story incredible began to have second thoughts. For the Prophet described the caravans he had overtaken on the way home, and said where they were and about when they might be expected to arrive in Mecca. And each arrived as predicted, and the details were as he had described. To those in the mosque, he spoke only of his journey to Jerusalem, but when he was alone with Abu Bakr and others of his companions, he told them of his ascent through the 7 heavens, telling them a part of what he had seen, with more to be recounted later over the years, often in answer to questions.